I didn't wrap my gavel as hard as Scott did last night, so. But I can if I need to. Good evening, everybody. We're about to start the meeting for February 23rd, 2021. Before we do, I'm going to stand for a moment of silence, and I'm going to follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag. If you would like to join me, please feel free to do so. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do want to open tonight with a little bit of housekeeping and an apology from the chair. I've been kind of laxing on you guys, and I got a telemarketer call me. Let's turn him off. And I don't want to do that. We hold the people that want to come to the meetings and speak on something to items on the agenda. And when we get to director's comments, a lot of times we kind of let that be an open forum, and that's really not what that's designed to do. So anything that the director brings up, we can certainly ask questions about that, and if it's something that you don't bring up and you need to find out about it, we can call him or text him or email him or whatever. But I apologize to you for not keeping that a little bit straighter, but let's keep that going that way from here out, and I'll try to help us do better. So we appreciate that. Who's reading this thing? I'll be glad. Somebody made the statement the other day, I'll be glad when we have a mask burning.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to that. All right, first item on the agenda is adoption of the regular agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Daniels, second by Ms. Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, adoption of the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Motion approved by Ms. Bachman, second by Ms. Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. Discussion and interaction of the my mind's working and my mouth ain't. Regarding the minutes of the January 19th, 2021 regular meeting, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Daniels.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wilkerson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item is recognition of delegates. Do we have anybody today? Okay, we don't have anybody there. Matters about involving council, we don't have none of that. So that's moving on. And now we're reports from the director, Dr. Phillips.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So there are three things that I wanted to try to brief you on, and I know you've heard about one of these for sure. The legislature in the special session allocated some funding to be directed toward pay. They specified in their very specific certified pay for some certified slots, but not all. Okay? So it was kind of really weird how they, in my opinion, and I mentioned this to them after the fact, but it was too late. But anyway, because it did not include many that we would all think of as being in the certified world. So, nevertheless, I did work through, and thankfully for our legislative delegation, they listened, and so we were able to influence a little bit about the wording of how that non-recurring funding looked. Okay? So in the specific bill language, they did specify that it was non-recurring and that we could pay this as a bonus. okay? Because we are not guaranteed until the budget passes in late April usually, before the session ends, whether those funds will be there for the following year. And so really, we didn't want them to put us in a position that they were changing a salary scale for us that would be applicable in future years before they applied the funding for future years. So, and they worked that out. So that's a good thing. At the same time, the county was looking at doing something very similar. So, with our relationship with the county, we were able to talk to Chairman Langford, we were able to talk to Mr. Loing, Mayor Holt, Budget Chairman Taylor, and try to work that where everyone in the county, similar to how we do now for the last 8 years, if school district employees get some type of pay increase, then county employees do as well. And so we're able to kind of work that where we were kind of all moving forward at the same pace here. The good news is, we want to give a 1% pay bonus on the April 15th paycheck. Okay? The reason I mentioned this evening is because the dollars that the state sent us in BEP is spread equally over the remaining months that they send us BEP through this fiscal year, right? We're in good enough financial shape that we can go in and pay it in April, one time, pay all of the 1%. So people actually in April, our employees will feel that. The second thing is that I asked Ms. Pritchard to pull, because consistent with how we've done raises in the past, we apply it to everyone. So all full-time employees would receive the 1% pay bonus in April, their April paycheck, even though the legislature only specified and sent funds for a portion of the certified staff. Does that make sense? So how that looks for us in the agenda is a budget amendment. We're going to take in $1.2 million, $1,267,000 of funds, non-recurring, from the state, and we're going to expend $1,908,099.80 in paychecks, additional pay in April. So that requires the amendment to receive the money, but it most importantly takes the amendment for moving $641,099.80 from undesignated fund balance, which is why we have it there, out of our budget into a payroll line so we can make that happen. So I'll be glad to answer questions. The big part of that is, so it's a bunch of moving parts, but we are complying with what the legislature wanted us to do. But we're also applying that to all employees, not just that smaller portion of certified staff that the legislature specified. And I think once we get to the county in March and they approve our amendments, because really the only part the county plays in this is to approve our amendments. If you guys approve our amendments tonight, it has it in there, it goes to the county, then the county would approve those amendments, and then we would put it into the April payroll. That's why it takes so long to happen financially.
I can
Yes, ma'am.
understand wanting not to pick and choose. That would be ridiculous. But what I really need to know, is this an extra pay raise? Other than we've already got our things in line and you put it in the budget. Is this in lieu of that?
This is extra. Completely extra.
You
So
gave them 4,000 last year,
Yep.
and now you're gonna give them this. I personally had rather you just use the 1% you got, divide it up equally and give it to them. I don't think we ought to be kicking in extra here now.
well, the problem with that, there's one problem with that. That's not what the legislature said do.
They
So-
said we had to match it.
They said that you had to give it out and that you had to give it out to certified staff. So the state's, okay, so the state's portion would be that you're gonna give it out to certified staff, but they specified only certain people within certified staff. Okay? So not all of your certified staff would get it. And I could pull that list, but it's basically, you know, counselors, a whole list of people, librarians, a whole list of people that wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
And that's terrible.
Well, I'm not saying don't give it to everybody. I'm saying go ahead and give it to all the certified, but use the state's money, and I don't think we should be kicking in.
You
on
can't
it.
do that. It's not possible. Because the state sent a specific dollar amount that we have to file back
Right.
that was distributed into paychecks of certified employees only,
And it's 1.2, right?
1.2.
We shouldn't, if it doesn't say we have to match it, we don't have to match it.
We're not matching it for certified. We're only putting in for classified. Does that make sense? Maybe I was
Oh, you
confused.
mean the other 1 point whatever goes to certified, to classified?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'm against it totally. I just don't think we ought to get everything where there are extras thrown in here or there, because they get where they expect it. And our teachers have not the, you know, well, I think they have a very good salary for the cost of living in Gallatin or the surrounding places in Sumner County. And I know that sounds awful and I'll get a lot of flack for it, but we're on such a good plan. I just say give it to the certified and go on and do not do the classified. Now that's, I'm sure I'm the only one here with that opinion,
Yep.
but I just think people get where they don't appreciate all that's done when you're doing this all the time.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm clear. The the $1,267,000 that the state allocated, those are dollars that by law have to be paid
Mm-hmm,
to certified staff.
right.
The 641,0998, so basically $641,000. Those are dollars that are 1% that I'm saying I would match, I would put in, so everyone, classified and anyone else in the system that's full-time would get the 1%.
Well,
So
when you first started talking, you were talking another million something.
no, it's the total amount's 1.9 million.
So you're only adding the 600 and something.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
1,267,000. You don't have a choice. You know, you really don't have a choice about.
Yeah, I understand that.
And then we're going to add 641,000 on top of that,
Right.
so we can give it to everybody 1%. So there's no difference between people.
What? Mr. Gregory, turn your light on. Mr. Wise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just speaking with a couple of folks down there before the meeting, and having gone through COVID and realizing the impact that it has had on our school employees the latter part of last school term and the beginning of this school term up until today. Our school system employees deserve 3 times that much. It's too bad we can't multiply it by 3, because I know, I've heard it. I've heard teachers are they're working twice as hard to accomplish what teachers accomplished 5 years ago. And that's the right kind of people you want before your children in the classroom. I'm going to run out of breath before I get done. Y'all hope so, I know, but our nursing people, our medical people, school system, I have a new appreciation for the medical field. Because, buddy, I'm going to tell you right now, they know what they're doing. I appreciate each and every employee in our school system, getting our parking lots ready to open school back up after an unusual amount of ice and snow. And that ice was tough. That ice was almost like pavement under that 3 inches or whatever of snow. Every employee, Dr. Dale Phillips has worked harder this year than he's worked how many years you been here? Ever how many? 900 years, the last 900 years he's been
6
here.
more weeks to be 10, right?
So, yes, give them every nickel we can give them. Thank you.
Mr. Wise, Ms. Hawkins?
Yes, I just have one question. The 600,000, is that coming from a surplus or is it depleting another resource?
Undesignated fund balance. So every year when we pass the budget, there's a dollar amount out there that we don't designate into a line.
So it
it's-
wouldn't cause a hardship in any
No,
other
no, it
department?
doesn't mean that anything that we have planned in our budget would change at all. And we use it there for, we do that every year over the past 7 budget cycles. We've been able to do that. And we've grown that from $1 million, I think this past time's like 3, maybe. But we do that every year because, financially, you just never know how things are gonna happen. In the past, the lives of some of us here, 11, 12, 13, in January every year when the state sent you, hey, guess what, you're not getting the funds we thought you were gonna get, you kind of go into crisis mode a little bit. So we're in such a better financial place now as a school system that we don't have to necessarily have that stress, but we always set aside a savings that's not budgeted within the budget other than undesignated fund balance, and that's where that would come from.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Mr. Gregory?
What or which areas are they not covering of the certified?
What I'm proposing is you'd cover everybody. So it's all full-time employees. But I'd have to get you the list from the actual legislation that passed. But, as soon as we read what actually passed, it was, and I had a conversation with Representative Lambert about it, but it was after it passed that language was it was in the bill. But it didn't cover folks that you and I would have thought as we went through the school building would have been considered certified. I just remember 2. I don't think it covered guidance counselors. I don't think it covered librarians. It may have been some other folks that it didn't cover as well.
Well, I've got a pretty good view of K through 12, and I do not know which one is more important than the other. I mean, they're all, every one of them has to do their part to make it work.
Yeah, well, and I think the way we've handled yearly pay increases in the past, for the most part, on increases that occur in the regular budget cycle. We've done that across the board, very similar to how this is. The only difference is this is a one-time bonus in April as one lump sum because it's not recurring. So we're not adding this to a salary. We're doing this one time. And then when we go through the budget cycle, the proper way is like we always do. If we want to give a pay raise that's forever, goes on forever, then we would allocate that within the budget, but it would be because there's recurring funds there, BEP or county funds to pay for it.
Is that all, Mr. Gregory?
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Wilkerson?
I think that with the unusual year we've had, started last year, we've got custodians that are cleaning rooms and cleaning walls, and we got bus drivers that's cleaning their seats after they come in and out. I think we would be crazy to honor one segment and not the other. I think we have to do everyone and not just a few.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Ms. Brown?
What I want to know, how are you going to message this to everybody? are you gonna tell the classified staff that because the certified we're getting it from the state, you're giving it to them?
We already have a messaging ready to go tonight, if you approve it, that all the employees will receive, and it basically, in the simplest way possible, it says that the legislature appropriated funds
Yeah.
for a pay raise for some certified staff, but not all. But in keeping with how we've done raises in this school system, we wanted to apply it equally to everyone. And so everyone will see an increase in their April paycheck. That will be one time, non-recurring, and we appreciate it.
So you're not gonna tell the classified that you did them?
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, well, no, I don't mean in the group. In other words, they should know to me that you're making an effort to take credit where credit's due.
It does say that.
Okay,
Yeah, let me be clear. It says that.
okay.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Hayes?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Brewer. How blessed we are to be able to put in the $641,000 to this. I just appreciate the fiscal responsibility this county does, our leadership. Amanda, the number wizard over there.
Yes.
But just the vision and the planning that we have this money and undesignated funding that we can do this for our employees. And it would be on April 15th.
Yeah.
Tax day. How great is this? That they're gonna see this increase in their paycheck. I wish we could do 4 or 5 times more. It has been rough, and what a boost this is, just for them. In a small way, we can do this. So, thank you. I just appreciate that we're even able to do this. I am all in.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Ms. Andrews?
Yes, so just a couple of questions. One, talking about all full-time employees. I know that a lot of times our bus drivers are technically hourly. I think they are considered part-time employees, but then we treat them like full-time employees. So will they be included within it as well?
They're considered full-time.
They are, okay. I know that that's a question that always comes up. Just
Anyone that draws benefits for us.
has the
is full-time.
option to draw benefits.
Yeah,
Fits,
that's right.
yeah.
If they're benefits eligible, we consider them full-time.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's clear, because I feel like that's a question that typically comes up on that. And then I also want to just reiterate, make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. As you said, this is a one-time bonus that they're going to get on April the 15th. But it also, we are not saying that this is going to replace any plans that when we go through the budget cycle,
No.
to then at that time as well look at doing raises as we have done in the
Yeah,
past.
I will address the budget in May, just like this never happened. So this won't have any impact on me or what I plan for next year or what I present to you guys for next year. It has nothing to do with any of that. This is just a one-time event that's gonna happen if y'all approve it. One-time event, happens April, and then we move on.
And then we just go through the budget cycle like
That's
we
right.
always do and look at
Yeah.
the, and it's not something that's going on their base pay that they get,
No. Yep.
That's how I understand it. I just,
Yep.
and I just want to echo Ms. Hayes and just say how thankful I am that, I know sitting back 2012 and so forth, when there were some really difficult decisions that were made at that point, and just looking at where we were financially, if we were at that point walking through this, it would hurt.
Yeah.
It would be terrible. So I just want to say thank you to everyone in this room who has strategically made the decisions that have been made through the years, forecasting for such a time as this. We were looking and saying, we know at some point, and this might not be it, but I'm very thankful that in this situation that we are able to recognize the work that all of our employees have done, supporting each other. I mean, that's what I hear, across the board, talking to different people, whether it be teachers or, like I said, custodians or preschool workers, all of that they're all in it together. I mean, it's a family, and we're all here for each other. And so the fact that everybody's on board and that we recognize the work of everyone, I'm very thankful that that's something that we are able to do as a appreciation for our employees.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Daniels?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that, following comments by Ms. Wilkerson and Ms. Andrews as well, when we talk about, we want to be fair to all the employees. I don't see this as fairness. I see it as compensation that they deserve. If we look at what all they've had to do, yes, our teachers have had to go above and beyond. From the extra cleaning in the classrooms and the virtual courses they've had to teach and all the things they've had to do when we've had the hybrid schedules. But the classified employees have worked just as hard. Whether it be cleaning seats on buses, whether it be cleaning in classrooms before and after school hours. All of these individuals have had an impact positively on the ability of our kids to stay in school the way that they have. And they deserve to be compensated. And, it's sad that, the legislature doesn't necessarily see that and understand that there's a lot of different ways that counties set up their pay structure, so maybe they had to do it this way. But it is nice to know that we're in a position, based on the way we've managed the budget year over year, that we're able to do this because, as I said a moment ago, it's not about fairness. They deserve to be compensated for the extra work that they've had to do and taken on for very little recognition. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Ms. Bachman?
Yeah, I cannot add anything else, I don't think, to what has already been said here, the comments, and I fully agree, and I appreciate Dr. Phillips, you and Amanda, and who all has worked on this, to be able to compensate our employees for all the difficulties that they have faced and they've overcome, and they still are taking care of our children. And I appreciate that very much, and I support this completely. Thank you.
Thanks, Bachman. Ms. Brown?
I want to make it clear, I did not say they did not deserve it or anything to that matter. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't spending, I thought you had said 1.4 million, and that just sounded way too much. 600 and something thousand to us is, to my household, is very important, but to the school system is minimal.
That's right.
So we certainly can afford it, and it has been a rough year. I agree with that, but I think it is. I'm glad that you are going to give them an explanation, because they need to understand that this isn't going to happen again. I mean, I don't want them to give it. They think every year there's a gift.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I think,
we don't often get what we deserve, and maybe in my case that's good. So you never know.
Well, I think, our employees there, I think they'll appreciate it. Obviously, we all wish it was more, but I think we've also, as a board, made tremendous strides in pay
Right.
over the last 7 years for all of our employees. So we've done that in a little bit different way by moving certified up, but also moving classified in chunks like we did, and then getting everybody above 10. So I think we've shown through many board actions the past 8 budgets that paying our employees for the good job, the great job that they do, is important to us, and that's what we're going to do. And that's why we'll discuss it again. You guys know I always talk about pay. Probably the first thing in the budget presentation every year. I talk about, hey, this is what we think we can do. And that won't change this year either. It'll be the same regardless of this event. If there are other questions, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go to my second point.
Okay.
If you want to do that, you will approve the budget amendments, okay? Because the general purpose budget amendment is the action that will approve me going to the county and getting the budget amendment approved there for us to put money in payroll for the checks in April, okay? So that's the board action that will happen with that. All right, so you saw some good news. I think Kelly sent some stuff out about the Facebook grant that we received, and so that was really good. Obviously Facebook coming to Gallatin and our community, and been working with Katie and some of her team. They are really long-term, very good partners in other locations where they have data centers across the country, and they always invest over time pretty heavily in the school systems, in other portions of the county, in city government. But we're excited to get started on our relationship. They gave us $60,000, and that's great for us. Chris and I were already talking about, Chris and I were already talking about a project that will be, I think for us, unique to us right now, unless someone else is trying to do it, to try and figure out how long-term to get internet accessibility to parts of the county where they just don't have any chance to have it. And I hope, like all of you, that we never go back to last March and April and May and this past fall and even now to some point. But I do think that there will always be some shift to having online learning to some extent. And a lot of those things can be positive. You know, Scott and I talk about all the positives, Norma, medically fragile students. You know, we've talked about how to capture content, so if kids are out because they're out sick or ill, but not long term, they can access lessons. I mean, there are a lot of things that we've tried to do and build through this whole process that we can use as an advantage long term. So kind of thinking through that, Chris and I had already started talking before Facebook even came into the picture about how do we do that. And there's some technology out there that Chris can give you all the technical details if we get to that point later on in the budget process. But long story short, we want to try to eventually use our county emergency management towers. We have 13 of those. We just put up some new ones in the county. We want to try to use those and see if we can use technology to have our own LTE network so we can eventually put a chip in the Chromebooks or whatever we give the students, and then when they went home, they would be able to access that through that closed network. Does that make sense? So they could still access everything that we wanted them to access. It would give us control too, as far as a little bit with how that device is used, and some safety in there. So, you know, we could block websites and we could do other things too. So it wouldn't just be like it was free access. So we're only aware of really one school district in the country right now, maybe.
As far as I know, there's no other districts in Tennessee.
Yeah, so it's kind of new front end stuff, which is not an unusual place for us, although it's a little bumpy because you try to explain what you want and get the product and inspect and all that kind of stuff. We do think there's some pretty good possibility here, and this is one thing that I talked to Facebook about. Of course, they were 100% for it, but we're working through that. Chris kind of has his marching orders and his IT guys to try to get us set up where I could possibly this summer we could test some in the northern part of the county and see if we can get actual remote access, 4 or 5 miles out from that site. So it would certainly light up a big portion of the rural part of the county that really don't have any way to get internet access. They just couldn't buy it if they wanted it. And that would be a big benefit, tremendous benefit for our students that live in those spots. So we'll keep you posted, okay? But as we get closer to budget, there may be some dollars that are put in there to try to see that may happen. It's going to be one of those things where we have to do a test site or two because it's so new that we want to see what kind of actual coverage and access we can get by doing it. The higher, Chris, I think I'm saying this right, but obviously the higher that you can put the access point, the further range you're going to have. So that's why the EMA towers are so important to us. But luckily for us, we have 13 of them scattered around the county, and they're all really tall, so that's a good thing.
Ms. Andrews.
Yeah, I just have 2 questions. You said there was at least one other place in the country that's doing it. Are they also using EMA towers
No.
to do theirs?
They're doing theirs off of their buildings, actually.
Yeah, they've got sleds on top of their buildings.
But it's a city district, and they don't have as far to reach. So basically, they've done this with a sled that sticks up, a pole with it on it, and it reaches out pretty good, but nothing like we would need.
Okay, and then 2, because it would add access to that northern part, I feel like there will be other households that will ask to be able to tap into that will only be available to kids within Sumner County. Okay.
Yeah. Only gonna work if you have the device that if we haven't given you a device with that chip in it, it won't read it.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to us to have a closed LTE network, because I can make sure that that device that I gave you, that Chromebook that I gave that student, it's gonna access it through our point of access, but at the end of the day, we're gonna restrict, just like we would if you were sitting in school, we're gonna restrict where you go.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Duncan?
I just want to throw out a resource there who actually meets in the EMA building. The amateur radio clubs in Sumner County are propagation experts for everything throughout our county. There'd be a good free knowledge base of people that have put up these kind of communication devices within our county, and may actually have additional sites if we have any blank holes within our coverage to get out to additional towers if needed.
One thing that's good, that's good to know, one thing that's kind of, and I don't know that you guys know this or not, but our county just went through the last 2 years a complete rework of the the communication system that we use through EMA and EMS. And so it connected all the cities and municipalities. And so, Jeff, I'm sure you know this, but you know, we wound up having to do some pretty major infrastructure work at the county level through the commission and Ken Widener to install some new towers and then to do some serious upgrades to the ones like, you know, that we already had. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we have one dead spot in the county. Beach. It was a hole. We did all this work. Ken did all this work. Guess what? The radios at Beach and Long Hollow Church, it didn't work. And we got 4,000 kids down there and staff. And so I felt like it was probably a pretty good option to let the county and Ken put up a tower behind Hunter. So that's where a new tower's at. But long-term benefit, things like this will be great because we can put our stuff on there and it'll service a big band of density right there, if that were ever needed. You know, where we're going to focus first is going to be more, honestly, it's going to be more North Sumner, Westmoreland, right in that area, just to see how much coverage we can get on the front end. So it'll be a process, but hopefully we'll make that work. The Facebook grant is part of what I was, talking to them about. This is something that we need to do and try, and they were all for, and so that's why they made that first donation to try to get us started with that. Any other questions about that? And then I've got one other thing. No, okay. We'll be talking more about that as the year progresses. The other thing, Kelly's going to send something to you guys tomorrow. We had a very generous benefactor, Parkside Builders. A gentleman by the name of Brian Chastain. His children go to school here in our school system, and he just kind of cold called us and said, hey, I want to try to do something for the school system. My kids go to school here. He was very specific about what he wanted done. He wanted some technology bought for very specific schools that were title schools and schools that maybe were in need more. So he's very attuned to our community, and he wrote us a check for $50,000, which is a big donation for someone to give us. So you're going to get, they're going to take a picture tomorrow with him, and we will send that to you tomorrow. I'm also going to embed, I asked Kelly to embed in the a link in the email to you guys with the picture in the press release. Email just to you all his email link, okay? If you don't mind, if you have time after you read it, just thank him. So when you get that tomorrow and you see that link, I would appreciate if you would tell Brian we appreciate him. You know, it's $50,000. He could have done a lot of other stuff with that $50,000. So that's a good thing. All right, I think that's it from me, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. Seeing no other lights on, we'll move on to the next item, new business. Item number 1, discussion and or action regarding construction bids for the Westmoreland High School field house. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Daniels,
Second.
second by Mr. Wilkerson. Any discussion?
I'll tell you guys, this is the one now. We've had several big projects when we started giving, allocating dollars for the high schools. And we've done, at each high school, we've done a bunch of tremendous projects across the county. Several of those came back in front of us because they were big enough that we needed to bid the job, those kind of things. Long story short, we've worked with Mr. Duffer now for 3 years, 4 years. Anyway, we finally got there. So this is a lot of work and time that's been put into this, and they're looking forward to getting it started. Going to tear down the old block field house there behind the football stadium and build a new one.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, I believe Mr. Gregory has something he'd like to say.
Let's group numbers 2 through 6.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Do we need to waive second reading on these?
Yes. And would you like to amend your motion to waive second reading?
I will.
All right. And there's a second from Mr. Daniels?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Before you do that, and I'm good with that, but I need to ask Dr. Phillips concerning number 6. With this new policy that we are about to vote on, are you comfortable that that allows our school system to better serve this homeless and students in transition community? Or is it going to make it more difficult for us to serve that community?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It'll be easier. You know, I think when you say easier or harder, you know this because you've worked with our group here through the Resource Center, through Melanie and attendance and Keisha and all they do. But you know, we're going to take care. You know, we're going to take care of our folks. So the policy is the policy, and it complies with everything the law requires. But at the end of the day, when we have people in need, we're going to get them resources. You guys know that. That's what we do. And we're going to keep doing that regardless of the policy changes.
Thank you.
Okay, our vote is for the motion to put 2 through 6 together. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Now we'll need a motion to pass.
So moved.
By Mr. Gregory, second by Mr. Wise, second by Mr. Gregory. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, unfinished business, discussion and interaction regarding amendments to the general purpose budget.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Wise, second by Ms. Bachman. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discussion and interaction regarding amendments to the federal budget. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Gregory.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wilkerson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion of study session items. Mr. Johnson, or Dr. Phillips, either one. Both lights went on.
So we will have our continuing journey through the policy manual. We are down to our final section, and we're kind of wrapping up and going through and cleaning up. So hopefully either in March or April, we will finally conclude our journey and have a fully updated policy manual.
We're also going to have, I think, Dr. Alexander, Dr. Alexander's going to talk to us about a program that we're one of the front runners in, that he's heading up on recruiting, and how we're going to be able to certify some of our own folks in the future which is amazing. I think it's really an innovative thing, and so he's going to talk to us about that. Scott's going to talk a little bit. I mentioned to you about ESSER. You know, we've got two things going. We've got ESSER funds that we are trying to work with a working group of principals and folks to leads to talk through how to use those dollars the next 2 years, federal funds. And then on top of that, we had the state pass in the special session the learning loss and the summer camp. You remember that? There's still a lot of unknown about that. I'm gonna be honest with you. We've seen lots of questions, and other directors and folks in Scott's position. We send a lot of questions, and we're getting back very few answers. I think it's one of those things where it has great intent, okay, but the runway is so short, and especially for big districts where you have to plan for a summer program that you don't even know what the funding is yet. Who's eligible, the rules, you know what I mean? It's just a lot to plan and to do, and we don't have much time to do it. So they're still working through some of those things. Not sure how much Scott will talk about that a little bit, but give you guys kind of a 30,000 foot view of where all of that stuff's moving. Does that make sense? It won't be any concrete plans because we don't have the answers for the summer camps to really do that yet. But it'll be more general terms about kind of what we're planning to do as we move through the next couple of years. Involve summer and after school stuff for kiddos. I think we got that. Oh, and then I'm going to do some conversation with you guys about construction and about probably where we're at, a little update about Liberty Creek, and then I think possibly what we need to put up on the next step, next move, okay?
All right, Mr. Daniels, question on the.
I've just got one quick question about the study session. Are we on pace to cover budget in May? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. All right, that covers study session items. Moving next on to comments from board members. Ms. Hayes, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Chair Brewer. I just want to say I'm sure I'm glad to see Ted Wise 2 nights in a row. We are just so grateful you are back with us, and thank you, Lord. I just pray you continue to heal and complete restoration of your body. It's good to see you. And when I say 2 nights in a row, last night, I want to thank the County Commission, and the chairman is sitting right here. Scott, thank you for recognizing the Sumner County School Board, our TSBA School Board of the Year. And Chairman Brewer did a great job of just thanking the commission for that recognition. We appreciate it. We all know that this doesn't happen without a team. So we work together, County Commission, our teachers, all of our employees, our parents. We're all in this together. So, but I want to thank you. And funny story, I'm sitting there with Betsy, and you're opening the meeting, and you're just doing the approval of the consent agenda, and you're asking everybody to say yay or, you know. And I just voted with the County Commission. And I looked at Betsy. I mean, I just kind of joined in with the voices. And I went, I'm just so used to being in the seat in a meeting like this. So Betsy and I got a laugh out of that. And then I kept my mouth shut for the rest of the time, not to vote. But just appreciate everyone. And again, with the money that we're giving our teachers, they deserve it. Andy Daniels said it. They deserve it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. You might not want to count that vote when you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, it was an honor last night to be before the commission, and we appreciate the honor that you bestowed upon us for the great honor that we got from TSBA. So, and it takes all of us to make this happen. So, appreciate that, and appreciate your being nominated for the teacher of the supervisor of the year, I think, for our area. So, hopefully, we'll hear more about that in a couple months. So. Some great news tonight from Dr. Phillips. I appreciate all the information that you gave us, that you've given us. And I looked at the email, and I kind of went through it at home. But this is awesome. This is the Pathway Guide, and this is great. And I appreciate everyone. I guess Chase put it together with a lot of help from his office. But thank you for giving us a copy. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bachman. Ms. Andrews?
Yes, I just want to ask that y'all keep the beach community in your prayers. We've had a lot go on since the beginning of December, just with families. We've had 3 students that have lost a parent, 3 seniors actually that have lost a parent, and then we've actually got a sophomore, one that graduated last year, and then a sophomore brother whose dad was hit physically by a car when he was trying to push his car out of the snow, who's currently in Memphis. So if you'll just remember the beach community, it's been really difficult. So appreciate that. And I will also say in regards to just the weather and so forth, and remembering families, I feel like it felt a little bit more real losing Clint, and thought about his family a lot over it, just because, it's easy on the dry days. Those aren't the hard decisions, but he was instrumental in making those decisions, those tough decisions. So just continue to remember his family as well.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Nuckin?
I'd just like to take a moment to thank our administrative leadership. They have found an unequitable situation with this salary bonus and turned it into a positive, which is a wonderful thing to, have the ability to do that. And also, just look at what has been accomplished by that same team. The virtual school, virtual academy. We had no idea about that a year ago. Now we have it. We can build on it. And now, what we're doing with the Facebook grant money. We've got a great team of leadership. We've got a great team. So I'd like to take a moment to say thank you for all that you've done for this school district. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Nuckin. Ms. Hawkins?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say welcome back, Ted Wise. We missed you, we worried about you, and we're just so glad you're back. Continue to heal. Secondly, this Career Pathways Guide is amazing. What I wouldn't have given to have this when I was in high school, or even junior high, or middle school. It was junior high where I was. But just a wonderful resource. It's just straightforward and easy to understand, and I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful resource in my regards to the people who worked to put this together. Next, I want to commend all those involved in making the decision to include everyone in this bonus. I think it keeps the unity of our system. It sends the message that we are all for one and one for all. And I think it just enhances that sense of community and that we are all in this together. And I also want to say thank you to Dr. Phillips and all those who worked together to bring the vaccines to our teachers. I think we were one of the first in the state to get it, and that took a lot of communication and prodding and making things happen, and I was just so impressed with that, and I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, I want to second the comment about the vaccines. I know I've talked to a number of teachers that have really appreciated it, and I think that that Dr. Phillips and his staff, that the whole reason we were able to get that second batch, Sunday a week ago, I believe, was because we've been so active in trying to make sure that we could provide these to our teachers. And when the county found out, we're probably not going to be able to use these on Monday, staff was able to jump in and say, hey, let us have them so that we can make use of them so that they don't get wasted. And that just the foresight and the effort and all the work that went into that on the front end is the reason we were able to get those when they arrived. And I know you're continuing to do that, you and your staff are, as we move forward, and I know it's appreciated by our teachers. And again, the one-time bonus, is something they appreciate, but I know that vaccine is something they appreciate just as much. So thank you to you and your team.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Wise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to wish my oldest granddaughter a happy birthday today. She turned 12. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna try to do this as thank you all. Your communications were much appreciated. Your prayers, I felt them. You called. Dr. Phillips wore me out. He'd call every 30 minutes, just about. You texted me, you emailed me, you communicated with me, and your words of encouragement really helped a lot, and I appreciate you for it. COVID is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Do everything you can to keep from getting it, and I know you will. And I mentioned earlier about medical folks in our country. I really have a new appreciation for our medical people in our school system. They sometimes have to make some very difficult decisions. When you think your 6-year-old grandson who's got ants in his pants constantly, cannot be still, cannot hush, but he has to be quarantined for 14 days and you got to help because his mama got to work. Well, that's a tough decision because he was in contact on the playground. But anyway, those are tough decisions that those medical folks have to make, but they make it for the good of the majority. And I'll move on to how this board and our leadership of our school system and all of those in our school system work together. We are in this together, and we are all working together, and I appreciate that. A few of us remember the old days, and we cannot describe them as good old days for the most part. These are the good old days. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Ms. Brown?
Well, first I better apologize. I try to attend everything because I really enjoy it, and I certainly didn't want to miss. But a friend died who was in the school system, Sylvia Vredenberg, and that was when their visitation was, so that kind of had to take priorities because we're pretty close. And so I apologize to you and all the board members for not doing that. I'm thrilled to death you're back. You can block some of that air from that direction. So I really missed you.
I learned an extra thick mask.
No, I meant the air conditioning or whatever it is. Yeah, don't breathe. Hold your breath. And I want to ask one question. Do you know of anyone that refused the vaccine or just didn't show up? I mean,
we had very few no-shows. And the ones that did no-show basically reached out to us and said, hey, I had this happen, I can't get there, whatever. So very few actually that signed up for the vaccine, and the 2 times that we've administered actually didn't show up. Everyone has been really gracious and thankful and happy that they were able to receive it. Now, we still have, obviously folks out there that want the vaccine that we haven't had enough doses to get to yet. So I can't really answer how many of the employees decided not to take it because I haven't had enough yet to offer it to everybody that's left. So eventually I'll be able to tell you that.
yeah, I was shocked when I was at Westmoreland viewing the new grant they had gotten. Somebody there just shocked me to death because all of us are like, where are those shots? I mean, I got in early because I saw them at Ball State just drove up. And that was right off the front, and here I was, and they just gave it to me. Yeah. So then I had to have the second one, so they gave me that one. So I didn't have to go through arranging anything, it was just a fluke. But I was shocked to see that somebody said while they were there, who I won't name, said they had made up their mind whether or not they were gonna take it. And I said, well, I can guarantee you one thing. Taking a shot is a lot better than death. And I thought that poor guy, he looked like he wanted to run from me. But I just, it didn't dawn on me somebody wouldn't take it. Of course, some people have maybe medical treatments they're going through, or pregnancies, or something that they're a little leery of, and I don't blame them for that. I think it's everybody's choice.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Gregory?
What percent of our full-time workers took the,
Don't know yet.
don't know?
We haven't offered it to everybody, so you don't know until you've given everybody an opportunity to take it. So we'll know, but it'll be after we've had an opportunity for everybody.
I have not heard of but one that may not take it, but I'm sure there are a lot more than that. It's good evening yesterday. I learned some very important things. I learned what our chairman's favorite game show was. And I learned what Mr. Duncan's favorite game show was, but I forgot what it was. What was it?
Family Feud.
What?
Family Feud.
Oh,
my
Family
goodness.
Feud.
What was Phillips?
I would like to really compliment our staff because a lot of the things we've dealt with, the COVID, the vaccine that goes obviously with it, the snow days, the budget, and just your daily problems, daily issues. I wouldn't say we've hit a grand slam home run, because that'd be perfect. But we've hit home runs that had at least 2 on base. And while I mentioned the sports, let me mention Mike Brown, because I do keep up with all the changes and things that he's had to do, and even playing some games being played back to back. I don't mean the same night, but you know, the same 2 teams play in order. There are a lot of makeup games. He's had to be a very busy person.
Yeah.
Very busy. I haven't seen Mike since he was here to board the last time, I remember that was. In a little humor, how many of you, did any of you see this on Facebook last week? I guess as a parent, I don't know. Said, I don't get paid for staying home keeping my children. Did you see that? I don't know what part of the county. I don't know who was supposed to. I remember the 51 blizzard we had. I remember the about 1990 when it was very, very cold, and for really longer than this. And then in 94 was a really bad year. And then 2021 was pretty bad. I can remember them all. And actually, this was not as bad as some of the others because our utility situation is better managed now. You know, you water your electricity, all that, it's better managed. Cause, and another thing is very important to our maintenance department. We don't have portables. If you have portables in weather like we had, you have to babysit with them in order to keep pipes from freezing. So, we've made some progress, we really have. I think CEMC's made progress. I think our water departments have made progress. So, it was a difficult week, but I say the bad days are over. I think so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Wilkerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gregory, if you would turn your light off, please.
Turn it off.
Mr. Gregory, there you go. Now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You forgot the year 72, 73 in January where we were out of school the whole month of January.
I do remember that, yeah, I do.
I was a sophomore that year. We couldn't wait to get back to school. I do echo everything that everybody said. Tammy, don't feel bad. I wanted to vote with them last night. Every time they voted, I had to catch myself before I actually spoke. Mr. Wise, it's great to have you back. And I do appreciate that you have a new appreciation for healthcare workers. I hate you had to go through what you went through
I'll try to do better next time.
to have that, but I thank you for that. On another note, Westmoreland just beat White House in girls basketball. I'm thankful for that too. I had to make a choice tonight on whether to come here or go to the basketball game.
Oh, that's
So
tough. That's tough.
it was a tough choice, but thank you to, we can't thank the staff, the teachers, the everyone who's involved. We can't thank them enough. So I think every chance we get, we should. And thank you for all the hard work that you all do. It makes our jobs much easier. Stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. I'll close this out with just a few items. Not many. I'm glad to have Mr. Wise back as well. You know, he's always handy to have around, but now we've learned that he's a good air deflector. So he's just handy for all kind of good stuff. So I want to thank the County Commission for recognizing us last night. I did bring the resolution, so hopefully we can get it hanging on the wall up here somewhere or another. I read that at our sales meeting today to let the real estate agents know that this is a great, great selling point for Sumner County. We've got the #1 school district in the state right now, so that's a great selling point. When I'm sitting out in the tree, sometimes hunting, I always ponder the situation, you know, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it really make a sound? My wife is in Alabama this week because Mama was needing some care and attention, and so I've been pondering this week, if I do something at home and my wife's not there to see it, is it still wrong? Now, I'm not saying I've done anything. I haven't done anything. I was just pondering that. So anyway, I'll end with that, and we are adjourned.